Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast. This is Elena, Dom, Josh, and Antonella here, and today we're going to be talking about grades 6 through 8 content knowledge. All right, so first I'm going to start off by introducing myself here. My name is Elena. I am a senior here at SUNY Cortland, physical education major, going into student teaching next semester, and yeah. So, on this episode of our podcast, we're here to talk about content knowledge in grades 6 through 8. Now, there's two different sides to content knowledge. There's your content knowledge of your student, and then content knowledge regarding the physical educator themselves. First, I'll start off with content knowledge regarding the physical educator. It is probably one of the most important things as an educator in general. Is just knowing what you're teaching, knowing how to explain to your students what you want from them, how to explain what the outcome you want, how to explain in detail tasks and methodology and the why behind why they're doing what they're doing. If you're a physical educator and you're trying to teach your students how to, let's say, for example, how to throw a ball, right? 6 through 8, we're talking a lot of team sports. We're playing baseball, right? And you're teaching your students how to throw a ball. And you go up to a student and you say, hey, like when you throw your ball, follow through. You have to really explain what that means, why they have to follow through, and the outcome that they get when they do follow through versus when they don't follow through. And that builds a relationship with your students, but it allows them to trust you and trust your knowledge and believe that what you're telling them is correct. Now, teaching grades 6 through 8, right? So 6 through 8, that's usually your group of middle schoolers. Your middle schoolers are tough. They are smart. They're going to challenge you, and you have to be able to I don't want to say defend yourself, but defend what you're telling them. If you can't explain why they're doing something, why would they want to do it? And it's much easier said than done. You can't just pull all this information, out of nowhere. You have to really develop your skills and your knowledge as a teacher. I know Antonella goes on to this a little bit later in the segment, but there are so many resources out there that can help you to develop your content knowledge as an educator, such as Open Phys Ed and all these other resources that are there to help you really expand your horizons and develop yourself as a professional. Overall, I believe that content knowledge is pretty much the main basis of any education, especially physical education. You have to know what you're doing in order to do it, and you have to know what you're teaching in order to teach it effectively. And there are lots of physical educators out there that, they have the basic knowledge on what they need, and they get by, and they roll the ball out and do what they want to, pretty much do the least amount of work possible in order to, keep their job, keep the kids happy. But that's really not developing our students into who they can really be, not reaching their fullest potential, I should say. It's really easy to take the easy way out. It's easy for teachers to get lazy. It's easy for teachers to feel underappreciated and not put that same effort into their students that they deserve, because they're not getting that. But ultimately, as a physical educator, when you take that job and you dedicate your life to teaching students, how to be physically literate, it's your job to teach them how to be physically literate. And the first step in that is knowing what you're doing and knowing why you're doing it and explaining and in being passionate. In order to be good at anything, you have to do the outside work. You have to, go above and beyond. And it's the same thing with content knowledge. You're not gonna you're not going to be born knowing every skill of every sport out there. As an athlete, growing up, maybe you specialize in a couple sports, maybe a few, maybe four, maybe five, but there are so many activities out there and sports and different types of physical activity that you can teach your students, but you can only teach your students effectively if you know what you're talking about. And the best way to do that is to go outside the box, go above and beyond, go beyond what you're taught, do research, go to professional development, go to classes, take things and think outside the box and, be that person for your students who really wants to teach them. And in order to teach your students, you got to teach yourself first. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anton Bassini, and I am a physical education major doing my last year undergrad at SUNY Cortland. The last 4 years have been so beneficial. One of the websites that I love the most they provided is OpenPE. OpenPE is free, which is great since they provide so much besides curricular resources. They provide professional development, they provide media, they can open up YouTube. They have so much YouTube videos of games, sports. They're on Twitter, Facebook. They also have podcasts. Everything free. That's a deal. So our main focus is content knowledge for 6 to 8. So you go to curricular resources, you go to PE grades K to 12. Focus on 6 to 8 middle school. Once you click on that, it gives you tools for teaching different things like flag football, golf, the main team like basketball skills. They give you other things besides team sports, which we're used to for middle school, that are more common. So they give you like dance, health, and fitness, which is great if you want to open your horizons, I would say. So once you click the sport you want or the activity you want, so I click flag football because I love flag football. I played it in middle school and high school. They give you the introduction of the sport. It's great. They give you module documents that you want to create or make, like a complete packet with module overview, material lists, all the activities, route rotation cards, academic language cards, universal design for learning, teaching reflections and guide. They give you activity plans, so they lay this all out for you. They give you assessment tools that you can assess your students, like language quizzes, holistic performance rubric, flag football 5-day journals. They also give you the OpenPE priority outcomes for this, like etiquette, locomotor skills, movement concepts, social interactions, working with others, all great team bonding things to do with your sport or activity you want to do with your students. Great website. Another website that I love is Teachers Pay Teachers. Unfortunately, this website is not necessarily free because teachers will upload their lesson plans, unit plans, they'll upload their visual aids and other assessment tools that you can buy from them. But I would say it's very cheap and it's a steal because you search up what you need and someone probably have posted it. And it'll probably be $5 for a bundle of 100 games that you can use with your students. So I don't see anything too bad about that. Another thing I would say, website that is useful, is I did some research. It's called WeTeachNewYorkCity.com. I'm from the city. I'm from Brooklyn. So this is useful for me specifically. It is a curricular guide. And between 6th and 12th grade, and it gives you a planning resource for practical framework implementing comprehensive skills based on PE, like community building, individual performance, rhythm and dance, sports and games. So struggling to make a scope and sequence for your school, for your grades, this is definitely a great guide for you. So at SUNY Cortland, not only they gave us great resources, but they put us into great classes like team sports. Team sports was a hands-on class learning the fundamental skills, strategies, tactics for soccer, basketball, volleyball, flag football, all the great common sports that you learn in middle school. And not only did they teach us how to physically do these skills and strategies and tactics, but they also gave us like assessment tools that we would use to assess our students, because PE is not only just physically, cognitively, effectively. So you have to think about that when you're doing your content knowledge. Also, one of the things I love about SUNY Cortland is our field experience, because it gives us great connections that we can contact other teachers to help us, just in case, like with our lesson plans, or if we're struggling with different kinds of students, or we're figuring out our teaching style. I feel like this is all beneficial, and SUNY Cortland have done a great job. And yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.
Now, for the student side of content knowledge, grades 6 through 8, it's easy for a physical educator to just throw out a soccer ball and say, here, kids, play soccer today. You're going to, split yourself up into teams, and whoever scores the most goals wins, right? But as a 6th grader, 7th grader, 8th grader, by the time you leave middle school, your team sports skills should be pretty much to the point where they're fully developed. Again, middle school is a lot focused on team sports and getting that knowledge to compete and to compete at a higher level. And as Dom says later on in the segment, the whole goal of physical education is to create physically literate individuals. You want your students to be able to go to the outside world and play soccer competitively, or play baseball or volleyball or softball, or, whatever interests them. Like, it's your job as an educator, as a physical educator, to give them those tools and give them those skills and give them the knowledge and develop their skills and content knowledge into being those physically literate individuals.
What does content knowledge for grades 6 through 8 PE look like? Basically, it's all about movement skills and patterns, fitness concepts, gameplay and strategy, and personal and social responsibility. To break those down, for movement skills and patterns, those students are starting to learn the tactics of dribbling, passing, pivoting, and striking with precision. They try to understand how their body moves and how they can effectively kick, dribble, and things like that. For fitness concepts, they start to learn the FIT principles, such as frequency, intensity, time, and type. This goes over cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. Those things are all necessary for them to be successful in PE. Students learn how these components are effective by different types of activities and how to improve them through different trainings. Gameplay and strategy is one of the most important things 6th through 8th graders start to learn in PE. They start to explore more offensive and defensive tactics, such as give and goes, how to defend, zone defense, where to move all their players, how to shift as one, how to attack as one unit, things like that. They analyze teamwork, like awareness and decision making is a big part of it. They adjust these strategies based on game flow, not just by what they know how to do, but how they think they should. Also, for personal and social responsibility, this is a big time in their life when they're trying to make friends and everything. They're moving on to high school soon. They're just starting middle school. It helps them learn communication skills, cooperation skills, and leadership skills. They can connect with their students in all these gameplay and different strategies by working well with them. This teaches respect, inclusion, sportsmanship, and goal setting, which is what students also learn in middle school. Now, to get into the academic language part, they start to learn like different vocab things such as frequency, intensity, time, and type, like how to work out different words like man-to-man, defense, zone coverage, transition play. They learn fitness words such as flexibility, endurance, body composition. Skill-based words are like dribbling and passing, dribbling with intent to score, volleying with intent to score, follow through, coordination, things like that. Now, these academic language for them just because they're going to use these throughout the rest of not just their PE time, but their whole entire time as students. They're going to learn these in all their health classes, their English classes. It's going to expand their vocabulary, and then they're going to succeed well. To get back into the content knowledge part, this is super important for them because this is kind of when they start to learn if they want to be part of big teams, like big effective, like say, for example, soccer teams. They got to start learning how to work together as a team and learning different principles for them. Now, to get back into the gameplay and strategy part, this is probably the the biggest part of the content knowledge, just because middle schoolers, they've already learned how to do, like how to dribble, how to pass, how to shoot. Now they're learning how to move as a team and how to make different movements like give and goes, passing goes, fakes, pivots, all stuff like that, which is really important for them. Also, a big part of the content knowledge is going to help them with their personal and social responsibility, which is probably, in my opinion, the second biggest part, just because like I said earlier, these middle schoolers, they're going to start growing up, they're going to start learning about all different kinds of things, and they're going to need to be successful. And so learning these personal and social responsibility skills such as communication and cooperation is super important for them. To get back into the academic language part, I'll give a little example. Things like I used a quick pivot to maintain balance and reset the ball, like turning, because you say a defender is running at you and you don't want to run back at them, you want to turn away from the pressure and pass it back. So saying I pivoted away and passed it back to them is a great way to use that academic language. This matters because it deepens understanding of movement and fitness. They become more self-aware and reflective. It improves communication in both competition and collaboration. And that collaboration will also go into different classes. Say they have like an English project they have to work on, and they have to work with, like, say 4 or 5 people. They will need to use that collaboration and communication to work well with them. And again, like I said, this builds vocabulary that supports all academic growth in all subjects.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap for our podcast. Just want to say thank you so much for listening. And for all you PE teachers out there who are listening to this right now, know your stuff, know your knowledge, get out there and teach.